With exploding population growth, all kinds of new devices, record numbers of triple-digit days, it seems like every year, weather events like haboobs and monsoons, our electrical grid gets taxed like none other. Here to tell us about how SRP works to stay ahead of it all is Senior Director of Grid Modernization. Please welcome from SRP, Mr. Jim Pratt. Jim.
Good morning, Mark.
Welcome, sir. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And where are you from originally?
Well, I grew up in Montana.
Well, there you go. And now, how does a guy from Montana end up in Arizona?
Oh, that's a good story, I guess. Well, probably the best way for me to sum it up is I remember one time when I was in high school, I was watching this football game, and it was in some place called Tempe, Arizona, wherever that was. And it happened to be the Fiesta Bowl, and I remember it was 78 degrees in Tempe, and it was like minus 26 outside, and I decided, I know where I want to end up someday, so.
Well, here you
Enough
are.
said.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been in the Valley?
I've been in the Valley a little over 32 years, and I've had my whole career with SRP.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So what's going on at SRP? What are you here to tell us about today? And wow, the changes you've seen in 32 years.
Yeah, a lot. We're here to talk about grid modernization, and people say, well, what is that? You've heard smart grid and all these other terms. It's really about taking all the recent advancements in technology, all the new portfolios of tools and equipment that we have, and applying those to the grid. And it's really in two ways. It's kind of the traditional thing of us generating, transmitting, and delivering, energy to your homes, but it's also our ability now to focus on providing more value to customers, and it's really defined by customers, the kinds of things that they're gonna want. So we're gonna have to be able to spend a lot more time doing things where customers are gonna wanna do their power different. When do they want it? How do they want it? The type of power they want. Example is us being able to integrate renewables into the grid so that if you wanted to generate things with battery storage, wind turbines, solar, whatever, but still maintaining the power quality on the grid so all your appliances and devices, work properly.
Well, we've seen changes that have happened. What do you see kind of short-term advancements and then down the road a little bit?
Okay. Short-term, an example is one of the things that we're working on right now is we have a pilot going that we call demand response. And Mark was joking about the weather here. Well, you think about maybe those 3 really hot months in the summer and maybe those 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon that are very taxing. Well, one of the biggest struggles we have, and we do it, but it's meeting that peak load. And you guys recognize, you go home, you crank on your AC, right? You want it to be cool. Well, that's expensive to do. That's the most expensive power that we supply, right? So if you could say, hey, Mark, I'll tell you what, tomorrow I'll send you an email or a text and I'll say, are you willing to help out today and conserve maybe a little bit during that tight period? And you say, yeah, I'll play ball. So I say, okay, well, I'll give you some kind of a nominal amount of money to help you decide to do this. In return, you may say, well, okay, so I'll give you control of my air conditioner for, say, 10 minutes out of 30 minutes during that period, and we'll cycle your AC on and off. You'll still be cool enough because it'll run, 2/3 of the time. But if you had enough people decide to do that, then you can lower that peak load, and it helps the grid as well as, customers earn a little money as well.
I like the idea of you sending me money. So,
you mentioned that at the beginning, too. I noticed that. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. And I know, now, is that something you're working on now? Or
Yeah, we actually have a small pilot we're doing at the moment where we're doing that. A limited number of customers, about 100 of customers out there that we're recruiting to go do that. We're right in the process of kicking that off just to see how well we can do at it.
That's great. And I know there's all kinds of, if you really sit down and study it, which you should, everybody's looking for a way to save a couple of cents per gallon of gas. Right. But people probably don't do enough research on how to really maximize their savings, like doing laundry on the weekends.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
So I think you're hitting on exactly one of the things that we're starting to see a big change in our customers are. People want to do things, and I would kind of put them in these buckets. They want more conveniences. They want more control. As I said, kind of the when and the how you use power. They want more control over the cost of their electricity, and we were seeing a very large movement to people saying, hey, I want you to be more environmentally conscious as well.
That's great. Now talk to us about people handling their thermostat from their phones.
Oh, yeah. So some of you may have smart thermostats today where there's a lot of different brands out there where you have an app that you get on your smartphone and you can see what your house is. You can turn the AC down remote if you want. Those are some of the things that have already started to get into the grid. I mean, there's a technology we're already using today. For example, You may have a pad mount transformer, in front of your house. Let's say in the past that's gone out, which we don't like that to happen to anybody, but it happens sometimes. So you pick up the phone, you call, your neighbor calls, and okay, we recognize, hey, here's these people, here's their address, we send somebody out. Well, on a proactive basis today, with some of the advanced metering that we're rolling out now, the actual meter knows that little last second right before it loses power because the transformer failed, it sends a signal to our control center, and we're able to say, hey, look, that meter went out, and my 5 friends right here, just went out too. And so you have somebody in our control center that's actually able to see that on a proactive basis and take action before you ever call. So we'll dispatch somebody ahead of time. That's an example of one of the things we're doing today. You asked about, what about down the road? We're not there to this point yet, but I see there'll be a time and a place where you may pick up the phone and say, you know what, I only want to spend X number of dollars on my power this month. Can you do that? Can you control all the devices in my house and make sure that the temperature is this, right? And I may come back to you and say, well, I can't do it if you want it at 78, but maybe if you're willing to go to 80, I can do it for that price or something. That technology, those things are starting to get developed where you'll be able to control all those devices and manage those in a manner that you can limit your total energy consumption.
That's very cool, but there are smart thermostats that I can actually,
yes,
from my phone, which is cool because there's sometimes I just don't really want to get out of bed.
Or get off the couch.
Yeah, or get off the
right?
couch.
I mean, when you're watching football, you want to turn it down a little. That's right.
Yeah, my wife and I don't argue enough about the thermostat settings without us being able to do it from our phones.
Yeah, the dueling thermostats, yeah. Well, I think, you think about this. You're leaving work, you've got your AC turned up, because like you said, you want to conserve. You want it to cool off by the time you get there, so you're leaving work and you turn it down and you show up and your house is cool.
That's great.
Yeah, it is.
I have found that the most energy-saving thing I can do is I live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of people that during the summer they leave. So my next door neighbor, for example, doesn't live there, and I got a really long extension cord. And their power bill hasn't really gone down, but mine is beautiful.
Yours is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that falls in the category of theft, though, Mark, but maybe. You might want to think about that one a little bit.
Picky.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Pratt while we've got a guy here? Anybody unhappy with your bill?
Thanks, Mark.
No, I'm kidding. Does anybody have a quick question? Otherwise, we're going to let you go back and do what you got to do on your way home. Going to the office?
Yes.
From here? You can adjust your...
Not while I'm driving.
Yeah, there. Oh, there.
A good safety minute for everybody. Don't do that while you're driving, okay?
Very good. Quick question right up front. I'll repeat the question.
If we have a pool and we want to turn on the pool motors, when should we time those? Should we do it in the morning? Should we do it at night? What's your thoughts?
It's a great question. To repeat it, he's got a pool. He wants to run the motors at the most efficient time. What time of day is that?
Okay,
Go.
The real key is to avoid things in that early afternoon to, kind of a little later in the evening. So say maybe that 2 to 7 kind of time frame or things. So if you want to run it at night, that's probably the best. But if there's other reasons you want to run it in the morning or something, that would be great. And the other key is, if you have the opportunity to change out a pool pump and go with the latest technologies of these variable speeds, you will save a lot of electricity doing that.
Try not to run the pump when it's the hottest. So don't run it between like May and October.
But still, it'd be good if you don't let your pool get green, though. Okay.
On a serious note, I did get one of those variable motors.
Right.
It's the best thing we've ever done. It really helped.
Works great.
It's worth the investment. Alice, quick question.
Can we call SRP and have them look at our current usage and have them help us decide based on your EZ3 plans and your regular plan? Are they able to see now how we work throughout the day so that they know what our consumption is?
Yes, absolutely. If you want somebody to do that, you can call and give us a couple of days to pull up your history, analyze it, and somebody can sit down with you and talk about what might work best for you. Yep.
Okay, so just call the main number.
Yep.
Is there something they ask for?
Just tell them what you're interested in, and they'll get you to the right people. Yeah, that's a great question.
That is a great question. Well, we appreciate. Now let's look long term in your crystal ball that we have here. In a minute, tell us what we can look forward to in the future.
I think what you can really look forward to is, and maybe this isn't the specifics, but think about today how, I remember the days when I got up and turned a dial on the TV to pick out maybe 4 or 5 stations, right? What do you do today? You stream your movie or your program to your TV, maybe a tablet, your smartphone. It's kind of how and when, and you dictate those terms. Those are the kind of changes that you're going to see in our industry as well. You're going to have more control, just like the question you asked about. You're going to have the ability to kind of dictate how you want to receive your power and what means the most to you so that you can better control your bill.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you being here. And boy, you're right, the grid. I moved here in 1982. Think about this. The whole state of Arizona was area code 602. Isn't that unbelievable? And now there's, I think my neighborhood has its own area code. It's unbelievable what's going on. So you guys keep up the good work. We're spoiled. We just want to turn on a switch and everything to work perfect, and we're willing to pay 10 or 12 bucks a month for that. So
It's a great deal. Right?
So keep doing what you do, and thank you, Mr. Jim Pratt.
Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks.